What's happening, people? Welcome back to Out of the Loop. Happy New Year. So today I'm going to run through a track that I've just about finished. It's kind of in the style of Maribou State Bonobo, some of my favorite artists that probably got me into electronic music many years ago. So yeah, let's get into the song. But before we get started, I just want to let you know that I have 50% off my one-on-one lessons just through January. So if you're looking for any one-on-one training, now will be the best time to book with me. But anyway, let's get back to the track. So I'll play through a little section. Hopefully my CPU is going to be all good. We'll go from here, the start, probably the best place. Cool. I'll play through a little bit more later on. There's some sax that comes in just there. But yeah, I enjoyed making this a lot. It's very different from what I normally do. I've got some cool little lead ideas in there, like kind of a guitar sounding thing. I was trying to really get that kind of Maribou State feel, just a lot of organic sounding things. So I got some outside help, some vocals here, and I got some saxophone, which is something that I notice a lot in their instrumentation. Cool, so let's go through some of the channels. We'll go through the top one. So we have this sidechain channel here, which is just a kick, which is turned off. There's nothing on there. And all it's doing is just sending through a signal to the other things in the track. It's just a sidechain signal. And that's just so I can use that signal sending, or that effect, that sidechain effect, when the kick's not actually being played, because I don't want the kick to play just before the drop, because it will take away from the impact on the drop. So just here you can see that I'm using this sidechain signal just on its own. And then we've got the next thing, which is just a kick, nice punchy short kick. We've got some live drums here. This is from the Eric Harlan pack, which I've shown in one of my, or quite a few videos. Yeah, really nice live sounding drums. They do evolve a little bit, just where at the start here, a bit more flat, less. There isn't a rolling hat, I believe, going through this kind of ride that rolls through. And then I think they might evolve a little bit more here. Yeah, just like a little rim thing at the end, or at the start, sorry. And then, so basically these live drums are the main drums for the track. And then these loops are just to layer underneath to kind of complement the things that's going on. I do let them run on their own a little bit at some points in the track, just so I've got some kind of perk information going on. But because they're loops and I haven't really edited them, I don't want them to be so evident in the track. I just want them to be like complementing elements, not just like like the main focus drums. The reason for that is just because if other people have used those drums, it kind of takes away from the novelty of your drums, because anybody can just put those sounds in. So yeah, I just tried to have them as complementing elements. I just wanted to point that out. So yeah, we'll listen to the drums here. This is kind of like the main drop. Yeah, just nice, like live sounding drums, nice and funky. And so I want to go, before I go through all these other elements here, I just kind of want to talk about the composition of this track. So the thought process, how it all started. And it all started from me just humming this kind of melody along in my head. I was just like doing something else, and then I was like, I wonder if I can just sing that into this microphone, and then it would pick it up, and I could just copy that into a bass, and it actually worked. Well, it kind of worked. It took me a while of dragging it around, because as you guys might know from when you do that, where you drag some audio into a MIDI file, it doesn't always copy perfectly. What I'm talking about, if you don't know what I mean, is just I have this audio here. This is how the track all started. That's me going boom, bum, bum, boom, bum, bum, bum. And what I did is I just dragged it down into a MIDI thing, and then clicked melody, and then it would have converted it into MIDI notes, and then I put that melody into a bass, and the bass I used was the Rickenbacken bass, I think, through Native Instruments. I'll just unfreeze this. So I use this Rickenbacken. I don't know if my face is in the way. Really nice funky bass. So if we just have a little solo to this. Really like nice and meaty. I did have to add a little bit of saturation and just some compression, and then I'm sidechaining it to that sidechain channel. And then what I did is I was like, all right, that sounds good, but I think I then layered this with a mid layer, which is this layer, which you can see underneath, which is the same type of bass. It's through that Rickenbacken bass. I got this, by the way, in the Complete 13 bundle. And yeah, it sounds really nice. And so what I did is I then added a guitar rig amp to this to make it sound a little bit different, and then moved it up an octave. So we got this sound. And I think I might have added a few little notes as well, just to funk it up a little bit. That dun dun dun. But yeah, let me just unfreeze this, or I'll freeze that again and then unfreeze this, just because I think my CPU will cry. Because Guitar Rig is an absolute beast, and it always ruins my CPU, even if I just have like one channel. So yeah, it's this Rickenbacken bass, as you can see, going through this Guitar Rig. And this Guitar Rig is a preset I use called Beautiful Dirt, and I think I just took down some of the amplitude here, and some of the volume here, and took down the mix on this ping pong. This is just a delay. And then there's a really nice reverb called ROM, which is going through as well. And then just a sidechain, a compressor as well, just to control it. And that's what's giving it the really nice tone, as well as it being up an octave. So they layer together really nicely. Because like we've got this low information here, you can't see it because it's frozen. We've got this low information. That bass is just taking up this area here, and then this mid layer is just taking up this area here. So they're not clashing with each other. They're complementing each other because they're playing the same notes, but just one's an octave above, so it's kind of like a chord. And yeah, it works really, really well. Let me just unfreeze. Yeah, there we go. Freeze. So that's how the idea started, and then I balanced the kick around, not balanced, but I placed the kick around that groove, so that dum 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 dum. So if you listen to them together, they really do groove well together, the bass and the kick. You know, I could have put any kick pattern there. I could have put like a 4/4, but I think with it kind of being in time with that bottom note, that down, I think the downbeat, it really does help quite a lot. So yeah, let's go through some of the other core elements in this track. So I used that same guitar amp that I showed here on most of the elements in this track to get them to kind of all sound like they're going through the same thing, but they're all different elements, obviously, so they all have different tones. So then I had this sound here, which is the lead, and this is from the BS Pluckers preset in DIVA, so it's a synth. I think I can unfreeze this, it should be all right. This here, BS Pluckers, really nice sound. And then going through this amp, so this is a recording of it. Oh, yeah, it does use a lot of CPU, as you can see. And the notes are just here, and this is just me playing along on the keyboard, making sure that I'm staying in key, and that's it, and just kind of having fun with it, balancing it around the melody that I have here, essentially. And yeah, it's just a really cool, unique tone, and that's purely because of that that guitar rig. So if I just solo this, hopefully it'll be all right. This is playing a bit lower, just because it's an octave below. I think if I bring this up, it might be, yeah. Well, a little look on this. So on the guitar rig, if I take this off, it's going to make quite a bit of a difference. Ooh. So I'll turn this off. Still a nice sound because of the synth, but it sounds like a synth, and I wanted it to sound like a guitar. I don't own any guitars, so that's why I had to kind of do this kind of workaround. But you can see it's the same kind of preset. I just would have played around with some of the settings to get it to fit. And yeah, I'm really happy with that result. I really love that kind of tone, that sound that came out of it, and I'll probably be using that quite a lot in my productions. So yeah, just thought I would show that. I think I'll freeze that again. Yeah, there we go. And so what I did is I made like a top layer or a top melody, and then just dropped it down an octave. So this is the down an octave. So it's a little bit like jumpy and not perfect, and that's what I wanted. I wanted it to be really like edgy, I guess. So yeah, that's it. I am using a compressor. It's just this CLA 76. It's just a really classic compressor, and it's just because it does jump up and down a lot, so I needed to control it a little bit, and that's all I'm doing there. Yeah, so these are the two layers of that, and then this is okay. Yeah, so this is the same sound, so it's that pluckers sound, but I'm running it through just an ARP. So it's just a standard ARP, and I'm just playing a different melody, and that's just because it started to get a little bit boring listening to this same melody over and over, and it started to get a bit repetitive. So I needed another section of the track. So we'll have a little listen to this bridge now, and you'll be able to hear the saxophone come in, and then the vocal does a little something, but not much. And the saxophone is something that I did after I did the instrumentation of this track. So the track had, the drums, the bass, the lead, and just some effects and stuff like that. And then I was like, I need something more. So then I asked my friend Elderman, who's somebody I've worked with a bit over the years, a really good sax player, and he just gave me loads of, he just played 2 versions all the way through, and I just chopped it up and found the best bits and fit it together. So we'll have a little listen now for this section. Yeah, cool. Yeah, and repeats back. So that lead idea, the lead here is kind of like the chorus, right? So that's lets you know that the chorus is in, and then there's just the 2 versions of the chorus there. And then the sax is just kind of to float around within those areas and just keep things interesting. Same with the vocal, really. The vocal isn't supposed to be such a strong, hooky vocal. It's just there's something nice to kind of sing along to, short, memorable parts. And this vocal is by Emma May, who's somebody I've worked with over the last few years, as you guys might know from my tracks. So yeah, that's the bulk of the track really, like the elements that are in there. These other stuff like this bridge bass is just a copy of the bass here that I've recorded, and then I think I just added some reverb on it to help it to fit into the bridge a bit better and sound a bit more atmospheric. And then these are just some effects, just like swoosh, like vocal swooshes in and out. The processing on the vocals, what I had is she sent me this main vocal, which is now frozen. And then some harmonies, which are just complementing, like backing harmonies. And then this underneath is what where I duplicated this channel, added a huge reverb, like a black hole reverb, which is like a really big, nice sounding reverb, some echo, and then I froze and flattened it, and now you get these kind of tails that come off. And I've just turned that down quite a bit, so it's just layering underneath and just making the vocals not sound so dry. But I wanted the main vocals to still be a bit dry, so they really do stick out a bit more. Otherwise, they would feel a little bit distant and a bit lost in the track. Yeah. And the processing I've done on here is just this is a CLA guitar. It's just an amp, essentially. So it's just an amplifier, which just helps to bring the vocal out a little bit. A small plate reverb, which is through Sound Toys. Some Pro MB. This is just for de-essing, I believe. And then I think I just did some enhancing compression. So I'm just boosting a little bit. Just in the... Let's have a little look, in fact. I don't know why I'm not showing you. So we'll have a look. This is the de-essing, which is just any sharp little frequencies that are coming through there. I'm just de-essing on them. And then we've got this, some enhancements just on the main part of the vocal here. So I'm just kind of boosting to bring it out a little bit. I'm not sure why I have like a white noise rumble coming through here. But yeah, you can't hear it. You can see this white noise information. But anyway, yeah, so... that I think is the gist of the track. The only things I kind of wanted to show is just kind of the composition and the decision making on some of the ideas and where to place them. So they're not just constantly running all the time. There's slight changes and things like that, and just letting things kind of have their own space and breath. So like here, I let the sax kind of do a bit more of a kind of like a sax solo. So after all this guitar stuff that happens here, it comes down into this bridge and the sax does a bit of work, and it just kind of breaks the track up a little bit, so it's not, you're not listening to the same thing over and over. Alright guys, that about wraps it up for the walkthrough. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, let me know in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new here. So yeah, the next video I'll be doing is probably covering some releases from last year, just talking about how they've done throughout the year, some of the plans for next year and things like that, and going over a bit of the mixing and composition in those tracks that I've made. Cool, if there's anything that you want me to cover, let me know in the comments and I'll be sure to cover it this year. Cool. Have a good week, guys. I'll catch you in the next video.